Son, you didn't get here by chance. There are things that happen in the invisible that you don't yet understand. But there are times when the heavens interrupt the natural course of things, just to deliver an answer. And this is one of those times. Yes, while you were scrolling absent-mindedly, while you were searching for relief or perhaps a distraction from the pain, I placed this video in your path. Because today, I decided it was time for you to listen to what your heart had been silently asking for. You've been carrying an invisible weight and you think no one notices, but I do. I've seen the days you cried in secret, trying to appear strong when everything inside you was broken. I've seen you wonder if I was still listening. And today, with love and authority, I answer you, yes, I'm here. And this word is for you. Nothing is coincidence when it comes to an all-seeing Father. What you thought was just another video is a divine summons. What seemed like a simple notification is a call from heaven, because I chose you for something greater, even if you can't yet see it. Today, I'll show you what your eyes can't see, and I'll reveal to you what you thought was the end, but which is actually the beginning of what I have prepared. But before I reveal that, I need to ask you something that could change everything. Are you sure you've reached the end, or have you reached the most important part of your story? And in this video, I'm going to show you what's really behind that pain you've been carrying in your chest for so long. And if this message touches something deep inside you, if at any point you feel like it was meant for you, because it was, then stay with me until the end and allow yourself to be completely transformed. This is just the beginning. And if that silent voice in your heart tells you, this is it, consider subscribing and leaving a like, not as a casual gesture, but as a sign that you're ready to walk together, that you're part of this. Because here, you'll never walk alone again. Son, now that you are here, allow me to speak deeply to your heart. You don't need to pretend before me. I know this exhaustion you feel, this knot that won't untie, this silent scream that no one hears when night falls, and you close your eyes with the weight of yet another day in which everything seemed to fall apart meaninglessly. I saw you try to keep smiling, even with your soul broken, when you hid your pain so as not to worry anyone, when you thought that losing again was a sign of weakness or abandonment. But know this, I never took my eyes off you, not even for a second. You're tired because you've been trying too hard for too long. You've been carrying unanswered questions, unanswered prayers, waiting that lasts longer than your heart can bear. And in the process, you've come to believe that the silence you hear from me is contempt, that the absence of signs is rejection, that the delay is forgetfulness. But let me reveal something the world won't tell you. There are silences that do not mean absence. They mean invisible work. While you thought nothing was happening, I was moving heaven and earth in your favor. The pain you feel today is not punishment. It is a fertile field where I am sowing a new season. This loss that crushed you, this disappointment that turned into a wound, this cycle that ended cruelly. All of this was filtered by my hands before reaching you, and if I allowed it, it was not to destroy you, but to rebuild you on foundations that will never crumble again. The collapse you are experiencing now is not the end of a story. It is the collapse of what no longer served what I have prepared. I needed to take some things from your life, not because you lost, but because I decided to prepare you to receive something infinitely greater. I know the weight of every tear you've silently shed, every night you've asked me, Lord, why? And even though I've been silent for a time, I've never stopped being by your side. I was there when you felt invisible. I was there when you were ignored, rejected, unfairly accused. I was there when they told you you weren't enough, when they made you believe you couldn't do it, when they shattered what you'd worked so hard to build. I was there even when you didn't notice me. I was there, keeping your faith from total collapse. There are people who have passed through your life just to speed up the process of your liberation. There are doors that have closed because did not lead to the destination that I traced. There are relationships that have fallen apart because they would have impeded what was to come. And you, tired, thought you were being forgotten. But what you called abandonment, I called redirection. What you called loss, I called pruning. And all pruning hurts, but all pruning prepares for fruitfulness. Now stop for a moment and reflect with me. Could it be that this pain you are feeling, is it not in fact the pain of the birth of something new? Still, in this video, I will reveal to you why the sky was silent and what is the answer you thought would never come. Answer me honestly. What prayer did you pray while crying and think God never heard? Right here in the comments. Maybe today is the day He will use this space to answer you. Son, now that you have allowed me to touch the hidden wounds of your soul, I need you to stop everything you are doing and just listen, because this is not just any message. This is the answer you have been silently begging for, the one that seemed never to come, the one you thought heaven had forgotten. Today I say to you, with all the authority of my spirit, what you thought was the end was the beginning of my promise. That night you considered giving up. It didn't go unnoticed by me. The moment you said through tears, Lord, if this is how it's going to go on, I'd rather stop here, was exactly the moment I began writing the next chapter of your story. Because, contrary to what you felt, that wasn't abandonment. It was a new beginning. It wasn't neglect, it was reinvention. And while you wept, believing it was all over, heaven moved in your favor, building paths you can't yet see. Child, you weren't left behind. You were set apart to be revealed in due time. Pay attention, I did not interrupt your walk. I diverted your steps to a route of promises, and even if the road has become empty, even if your friends have gone silent, even if the results have stopped coming, it doesn't mean you've lost. It means I hid you for a time because I was watching over your calling behind the scenes. The stage you will step onto is already being prepared. Those who mocked your pain will see the glory revealed through your life. I am raising something that will make even the most unbelieving recognize it was my hand. You don't have to understand everything right now. I know you feel confused, insecure, afraid to believe again, and be disappointed again. But I invite you to trust, because today heaven makes a public declaration about your life. This season of humiliation will be transformed into honor. The places where you have been shamed will be the very places where my promise will be witnessed. The hands that pointed you will yet see what I will do. Son, lift your head, because heaven has already signed what the world tried to bury. The sentence of failure they passed upon you has been nullified by my decree of restitution. What seemed finished is merely dormant. I am the God who calls into existence what does not yet exist. I am the God who resurrects dreams, who transforms tears into seeds, who writes stories of overcoming with the ink of pain. And it will be no different with you. Maybe you don't see anything changing yet. Maybe circumstances still dictate otherwise, but the spiritual world has already moved. And when I release a word, nothing can stop what's to come. The promise I made to you, the time you waited, the faithfulness you maintained even without signs. All of this is being told in heaven. And today, with all authority, I declare, it has begun. Today is the milestone. Today, your promise begins to breathe. But before you go any further, I want you to understand something that will change the way you view difficult days. The silence you faced was the stage where my promise began to take shape. And now, I'm going to show you what was really happening when everything seemed to stand still. In the next minute, I will. Open your spiritual eyes so that you will see that which was already in motion, even when you thought heaven was silent. Be honest. How many times have you thought about giving up quietly, just so no one notices your struggle? If this word speaks to you, comment here. I'm in this battle too, because you're not fighting alone. Now close your eyes for a moment, child, and allow me to take your vision beyond what your natural eyes can see. Because while you see disorder, I see structure. While you see stagnation, I see preparation. And while the world judges you for what you lost, I'm already writing what you're going to live. Today, I want to open the eyes of your spirit so that you perceive what is already being aligned by me in the invisible. Imagine a dry, seemingly abandoned field where nothing grows, where everything seems to have been uprooted. This field is your life at this very moment. But what you haven't yet seen is that underground, deep beneath the surface, visible to everyone, seeds are being watered with the tears you've shed. Every silent prayer, every night you fought to not lose yourself, every time you chose to trust, even when you felt nothing. All of this counted as spiritual watering. And now, in this seemingly barren ground, deep roots sprout, which will bear fruits that the world cannot ignore. While you thought everything was standing still, I was removing hidden stones, roots from the past that would impede your growth, ties that seemed harmless, but trapped you in invisible cycles. I was clearing the path of the promise I made to you so that you wouldn't stumble at the right time. I didn't leave you alone. I preserved you. There are spiritual wars that took place while you slept, battles you will never see because I overcame them for you before the enemy could reach you. Now imagine a rug being woven. On one side you see only the knots, the loose threads, the disordered colors, and you think, this doesn't make any sense. It's ugly. It's confusing, it's chaotic. But on the right side of the rug, on the top, the image is already complete. It's beautiful, harmonious, full of details that your eyes couldn't comprehend while you only saw the reverse side. Son, this is your life. You are looking at the reverse side of something glorious that I've already finished designing. Don't judge your process by what you're feeling right now, because if you could see with my eyes, you would see the angels still stationed around you. You would see the promises already released. You would see the divine connections approaching. You would see the invisible movement about to break through in the natural world. You are not alone on this path, and certainly not at a standstill. You are being led to a new stage in your story, and even without realizing it, you have already begun to cross the valley that will lead you to the fulfillment of what I promised. Let me show you another image. Imagine a potter with his hands immersed in clay. He presses, turns, kneads, tears, and molds. To an outsider, it looks like destruction. But to the potter, each movement is part of the creation of the work. Now understand, you are this vessel, and I am the potter. The pressure you're feeling isn't meant to break you, it's meant to shape you. And now that I have shown you with the eyes of faith what is behind your process, I need to reveal something even more important to you. The suffering you called punishment was my care preparing you to carry a promise that you did not yet have the structure to sustain. Still, in this video, I will explain to you why you needed to go down this path and what I was forming inside you while everything seemed to be falling apart. Son, now that you've seen what I was doing behind the scenes, I want you to understand a truth that many ignore, but that, if it penetrates deeply into your spirit, will heal what pain has silently wounded. Not everything that hurts is a curse. Not all silence is rejection. Not all loss is injustice. And most importantly, not every deviation from the route is a punishment. There are situations in which the sky closes not to punish you, but to protect you from something that your heart is not yet ready to discern. You have been asking questions like, why did all this happen to me? Did I do something wrong? Has God abandoned me? Is my faith too weak? And today, with my love and my truth, I answer, no, you haven't been forgotten. And no, you're not being punished. You're being positioned. I know these words are hard to hear when you're feeling pain, when your reality screams otherwise, when everything seems to be going wrong and promises seem ever more distant. But it's at this very point that your heart needs to align with mine. You prayed for answers. You cried out for change. You asked me to do something big, something new, something that would completely transform your life. And I heard every word. But before I gave you what I asked for, I needed to prepare you so you wouldn't lose it when I did. I needed to shape your inner self, strengthen your roots, mature your spiritual vision, and destroy the attachments that would prevent you from moving forward. Because what I'm about to place in your hands requires structure, requires depth, and requires alignment with my will, and not just with your fleeting desires. You asked to live your purpose, and I led you down a path that seemed the opposite, but it was the exact path. I removed people from your side not because they were bad, but because their cycle had ended. I closed doors that seemed promising because they would divert you from the eternal destiny I had set. I allowed you to lose good things, to make room for what is eternal. Child, you are still stuck in what you lost, but I'm celebrating in heaven what you're about to experience. Waiting taught you patience. Loneliness taught you to listen to me. Pain taught you to depend on me. and injustice taught you that your righteousness comes from above. You didn't go through all this in vain. Everything you've faced is producing within you a weight of glory that no one will understand. People who judged you by what they saw don't know what I built in you when no one was looking. And when I reveal it to you, it will be impossible to deny that it must have been my hand. I don't need a favorable scenario to act. I don't depend on anyone's acceptance to fulfill a promise. And I don't go back on what I said. What I started, I'll finish it myself. But understand, there are processes that cannot be accelerated without the structure collapsing later. And what I'm doing with you isn't small. It's lasting. It's grounded in eternity. And so, I needed to smooth out rough edges, break ties, cleanse your spirit of everything that was keeping you from flying. Son, I know it hurts not to understand the reason for certain losses. I know it's confusing to see others being exalted while you are being tested. But trust me, I didn't bring you here to embarrass you. I brought you here to position you where few can reach. There is a favor coming upon you that will make up for all the days of shame. There is an honor that will be released upon your life that will make you understand that all the time of silence was in fact a time of construction. And now that your heart has begun to understand that the pain did not distance you from me, but aligned you with my will, I need to release something upon you that will completely change the atmosphere around you. Because the time has come to declare over your life what heaven has already decreed in your name, and no word will return to me empty. In the next minute, I will prophesy over you, and what I say will begin to happen from today. Son, now that your heart is aligned with my will and your eyes are beginning to see with faith that which has not yet manifested in the natural, I declare the time for change has come. This is not just another ordinary day. This is the milestone. This is the exact point where the sky changes the season of your soul and inaugurates a new cycle in your life. What seemed endless today receives a full stop, and what you thought was just a desert is being transformed into a path. I declare with divine authority that the chains that bound you to the past are now being broken. The fear that paralyzed you is losing its power. The insecurity that prevented you from moving forward is being uprooted. The cycle of repetition, where you tried and were always stopped, where it seemed like you took 2 steps and 3 steps back, is being ended. Because today, I declare, you are free to live what was prophesied about you from the womb. No promise was lost, no word fell to the ground, no tear was in vain. Thus says the Lord, lift up your head, dry your eyes, straighten your shoulders, for what was once a burden will now be a testimony. What was once pain will now be a memory of overcoming. What was once humiliation will now be a reminder of how much I honored you before those who doubted you. The time for hiding is over. The time for crying alone in your room is over. The time for waiting in silence, feeling like no one understood you, is over. Now begins a new time where God's voice will be heard through your story. I declare before the spiritual world that you will be raised with double strength, that what broke you will serve as the foundation for your ministry, your mission, your legacy. The voice they tried to silence will be the voice I myself will amplify. The talent they ignored will be the talent I will place before the right people, and the name they scorned will be remembered as proof of what happens when someone doesn't give up, even in the middle of the desert, because you resisted, and whoever resists standing in the valley receives honor on the mountain. Son, I have already released the resource you needed. I have already unlocked the path that seemed impossible. I have already connected the encounters that will change your path. And I have already prepared hearts to welcome you where before you were rejected. Now all you need is to keep walking, even slowly, even silently, knowing that every step is charged with purpose and every movement is being directed by my hand. I don't need you to understand everything right now. I just need you to trust. The promise is no longer a distant hope. The promise is now alive, breathing, pulsing, drawing near. You are in the time of harvest for the faith you sowed when no one believed, for the fidelity you maintained when everything told you to give up, for the obedience you demonstrated even without answers. I saw your every gesture. I heard every broken prayer. I counted every tear that fell on the pillow. And now I gather all of this and transform it into a testimony that will bless generations. You are no longer the person who began this journey. The pain has matured you. The process has shaped you. The weight has strengthened you. And now your voice carries authority. Your gaze carries depth. Your walk carries meaning. What you lacked, I added. What you had left of pain, I converted into wisdom. What you lost, I am restoring. And what seemed impossible, I declare, it will happen, and it will happen faster than you think. Son, receive this prophetic word now. You are entering a phase where doors will open naturally, where favor will reach you without human effort, where unexpected connections will bring answers you've waited for years. And when this happens, and it will, remember, it wasn't a coincidence, it was a fulfillment. It wasn't luck, it was a promise. It wasn't a work of chance, it was an intervention from heaven. And now that the promise has been declared over your life, I invite you to take a step of faith, not just listening, but responding with an awakened spirit, a firm heart, and a soul at peace. Because what has been said will be fulfilled, and nothing and no one will be able to stop it. In the next minute, I will show you how to seal this word in your life with a prophetic act that moves the spiritual world in your favor. Son, now that you have received this word, I want to ask you something. Not because I need a physical gesture to act, but because there are attitudes that seal in the natural what has already been released in the spiritual. True faith is not limited to what you hear. It manifests itself in what you choose to do after you hear it. And that's why, today, as a sign of covenant, I want you to take a symbolic action that visibly represents what your spirit has just received. No matter where you are right now, whether you're sitting in silence, listening on a cell phone while holding back tears, alone in a dark room or surrounded by noise and distractions, wherever you are, I am too. And at this very moment, I invite you to do something simple, yet filled with meaning. Place your hand over your heart and say in your own voice, even if quietly, Lord, I receive the beginning of your promise in my life. I am not at the end. I am at the very point where the new begins. And if this word really spoke to you, if something inside you was awakened, if you felt that God found you through this video, then write now in the comments, I receive the beginning of the promise. Don't write this just as a mechanical gesture. Write it as if you believe it, as if you understand that this statement is activating something, as if you understand that this phrase is a seal between what you heard and what you will experience. Because when you write with faith, you move the invisible world around you. And if you know someone who is going through a time of pain, someone who also needs to hear this voice that reached you today, share this video with them. Because a word released at the right time can be the rescue of hope for those who no longer believe. Son, this action is simple, but it carries power. And I see every gesture. I receive every surrender, and I honor every step taken with faith. Son, now that you have received the promise, now that your soul has been touched by the revelation, I want you to simply take a deep breath and listen to me with a quiet heart. I am in no hurry. I am in no hurry to leave. I am the kind of father who stays until the very last minute, even when you are at a loss for words, even when all you can do is cry, even when all that remains in you is the desire not to give. Up, I am here. And my presence does not depend on what you feel. It depends on who I am. You no longer have to fight to be strong all the time. You've been through battles no one saw, endured days when you could barely stand, endured harsh words, carried guilt that wasn't even yours, absorbed pain you didn't have time to process. And yet, here you are. Wounded perhaps, but still standing. Bruised, yes, but with a willing heart. Worn, yet still sensitive to my voice. And that, my son, it's one of the most beautiful things I see in you. Your willingness to continue listening to me even when everything seems meaningless. You may not understand it now, but I know the whole story. I saw how it all began. I know where it will end. And I assure you, your ending will be much more beautiful than the beginning, what you called ruin. I am rebuilding with solid stones. What you thought was waste, I am repurposing as a solid foundation for something eternal. Not a single tear you shed was wasted. I collected them all. I saved every single one, and they carry weight before heaven. They are spiritual language. They are prayers that need no words. You're not being ignored. You're being kept. There are promises that only blossom in silence. There are miracles that only emerge when everything seems over. And there are answers that only appear when you give up trying to understand and decide to simply trust. And that is where I am calling you to be, the place of complete trust, where you don't need to know the how, the when, or the why. Just know that I am here, and that is enough. Son, your effort has not gone unnoticed. What you did in secret, I will reward in public. What you gave without applause, I will multiply. And what you thought you lost, I myself will return, but with honor, with peace, with purpose, with restoration. I am the God who resurrects what men bury, and there is no time wasted in my hands. I know how to redeem. I know how to restore. I know how to remake with perfection. And even now, as you listen to this message, as your heart burns inside without understanding why, it is my spirit touching you with deep comfort. Because I didn't come just to give you a promise, I came to remind you that, above all, you have a Father. A Father who knows you better than you know yourself. A Father who understands you without you needing to explain. A Father who never abandoned you, even when you thought you were alone. You may have been left by people. You may have been forgotten by those who promised to stay. You may have been hurt by those who claimed to love you. But I am different from everyone. I am not like men. I don't change. I don't walk away. I don't get tired of you. I don't regret choosing you. You are my work in progress. You are my precious project. And what I have begun in you, no one can interrupt. Now rest. Just rest. Not in the sense of folding your arms, but in the sense of letting go of the weight you've been carrying for too long. Let me relieve you. Let me take care of what you've tried to solve alone. Let me be your shelter, your guidance, your relief. Because whoever rests in me is reborn with more strength than they ever imagined having. Son, I haven't forgotten you. I haven't left you behind. And when everything makes sense, because eventually everything will, you'll look back and understand it was there, in that moment when I thought it was the end, that God was preparing the beginning of everything. Son, before this conversation ends, there's something else I want to show you. Because what you've received here isn't the end of the journey. It's just the first step on a much deeper path. You felt my presence in this word. You were touched by something you can't explain with words. And you know deep down in your soul that it can't and shouldn't stop here. And it won't. Because when I begin a work, I don't leave it half finished. When I touch someone, it's because I have something greater to accomplish. And with you, it will be no different. There are times when heaven approaches earth with such intensity that the heart recognizes it even before the mind understands. This is exactly what's happening to you now. This peace you began to feel in the midst of pain, this tear that flowed without warning, this relief that invaded your chest, these are signs. Signs that I am working. Signs that you have been found. And now that you have allowed my voice to reach your inner self, I want to lead you even deeper. Don't stop here. Don't be content with the first touch. There is a greater depth waiting for you, and it lies in the next step. You know, often the enemy tries to interrupt at exactly that moment. When hope begins to dawn, when the heart begins to awaken to something new, he whispers, "Stop here, it's enough." But it isn't. Because what heaven has begun to reveal today is still just the beginning. There's still something I need to tell you. Something that will open your spiritual eyes and free your mind from the confusion you've been carrying for years. There's a key about to be delivered, a key that will unlock areas of your life that seemed locked for a long time. But it's in the next video, and I want to take you there. In the next video, I'll show you the reason for the silence. I'll reveal the behind-the-scenes story of what was being built while you thought nothing was happening. You'll understand why some answers took so long, why certain paths closed, why some people disappeared, and why, even praying sincerely, you felt alone for so long. None of this was in vain. and you'll realize that God's silence is never punishment. It's preparation. It's never abandonment. It's strategy. Because some battles are won not with noise, but with silence. And I want you to understand this process, because when you understand silence, you stop doubting love. Son, if this message touched your soul, if you felt I was speaking to you, then it is essential that you hear what comes next. Don't ignore this call, don't put it off, don't say, "I'll see later," because this spiritual procrastination is a trap, and I don't want you to miss what is ready for this moment. You've waited too long, you've been going around in circles for years, you've felt trapped for too long, but now I've led you here to this very video to free you from repetition, and the next video will show you how to break this cycle. So come, continue. I'm waiting for you in the next step. The voice that touched you here will reveal even more to you there. And perhaps there you'll find exactly the answer your heart has been crying out for so long. Click and come with me, because what heaven began in you will be fulfilled. Son, before I remain silent, I want to seal this sacred conversation with you, because what began as a simple search, a video among many, an unpretentious click, has become an encounter between your wounded soul and my unconditional love, and what you received. Today it wasn't just a pretty word, it was a movement of heaven within you, an activation that the natural world cannot comprehend, but that your spirit recognizes as truth. And so now, with all the tenderness and authority of a father, I declare upon your life a blessing that cannot be revoked, that will not be annulled, and that will accompany you wherever you go. May you be enveloped by a peace that does not depend on circumstances, by a hope that is reborn each morning, by a courage that does not break in the face of struggle. May the next decisions you make be guided by me. May the next steps you take be firm on the rock, and may the coming days be marked by surprises from heaven, the kind that arrive when you no longer expect anything, but I decide to act in an extraordinary way. I pray now, my son, that the words you heard will not be lost to time. May they find a home in your heart. May every sentence, every revelation, every spiritual touch you felt here today blossom, grow, and bear fruit, and that even on the days when you forget what was said, my presence reminds you with love that I'm still with you, and I always will be. And if this message touched your heart, if you felt that heaven spoke to you today, subscribe to this channel now, because there are many more words I still want to release into your life, and I don't want you to miss any of them. Activate the bell, leave your amen in the comments as a seal of faith, and share this message with someone you love, because sometimes all a person needs is a word to not give up. Son, go in peace, because what you thought was the end was just the beginning of my promise.